has to come in and out of it.
Yeah, I think that we're gonna have, once this does get into pro player, once players get this on their hands, like how high prior that's gonna be. But yeah, A main hit, as you say.
Let's see if we can see a trim jump here.
Come on, Mixwell.
Storming their way through, but slow down.
So you see him on top of that box in A main, so this is a really good way to look over that smoke.
Oh, watch this.
And here he goes with the TP on the bridge into the smoke.
Okay.
This is exactly what we wanted to see.
Oh, the timing on the dizzy, looking
Fantastic
great.
execute.
Oh, that is gorgeous.
And that is exactly what we want to see from this map.
That is so sick. That is so hard to pull. It looks like it's challenging to pull off at the very least. Like a little bit difficult.
Yeah, it's a very
you saw the team play. You can't do this solo. You have the defenders sitting on site. They're holding all of these random angles, these off angles as well. So you really want to throw them off with the abilities, the utility, and all the bodies.
So obviously we see that there with the Omen, but what other agents can really kind of make a similar maneuver to that? I mean, I assume Ray's blast packing, Jet dashing.
Jet dashing.
Okay.
I guess you can send Euro TPs, but those are typically the agents that are able to do that. So fun fact, the jump that was just made, you're able to make from A site to A main. So any agent can make that jump. It is just a strafe, like an air strafe.
Right.
But not the other way around.
Yeah, super challenging to do, but you can totally risk it and totally flank attackers coming in through A main.
So only defenders can make that jump without the use of abilities.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
So really cool pointing out here too, they planted right on that bridge. Super popular plant site. Something we didn't get to talk about too. We really intentionally didn't want the death drops to be super frustrating. So the majority of the map actually has ankle high borders, so that you can't just like back into like an edge and then fall off by accident.
Okay.
There were a couple of choice spots where we don't have those ankle borders. That bridge being one of them. Again, high risk. Really worth planting the spike there if you can get away with it, and trying to defuse it is really risky.
Especially if you have a breach, right? And you have the ultimate.
A breach or like a race satchel.
Yeah, the satchels too, yeah.
But I would assume, maybe something like a Astra Star not going to be able to pull somebody off the side of the map, right?
That's a good question.
The ankle borders do stop you. If you're standing on top of it, which on B site, you can technically plant the bomb on that ankle border, forcing your opponents to play on that edge, and then you can use abilities to push them off. You don't even have to fight.
Okay, well I'm really curious about just the meta development once this gets into the hands of, professionals, because the way that this seems very exec heavy, we've seen some very just dominance in execs here in this tournament, but also from other squads in the past. I'm curious to see how that's all going to look.
Oh, here we go. Respect for the play.
Mixwell, he pulled it off the opposite time. He sees it coming.
Actually, no, he tried doing that again. Pro tip for players trying this map: if you're Omen, the trick is to actually aim above where you want to TP and not try to get it exactly where you want to go. It makes doing that play a lot easier.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
There you go. A word from the wise. Okay, we're seeing this neon on display now. Sliding all over the place. I'm just curious what the balance is going to look like between high mobility, but also, a collection of agents, a team that is going to be able to just go for really nice set executes. And I think that something like Neon Jet, Neon Yoru with a breach in play. All these things are coming to my mind right now, and it seems like the possibilities are damn near endless.
For show match, they're having a lot of fun with the agents that they picked here. They're really showing off a lot of those mobility things that they were rehearsing and having fun with. But a lot of other agents are viable here, right? Especially like controllers. Like you can actually stop a lot of these pushes with your Vipers, with your Harbors, with your Deadlocks. But yeah, I'm really excited to see like what meta develops in this map, because this is like a new layer that we're adding to our core gameplay design.
Another agent that I found surprisingly, and personally, this is a personal anecdote, really strong on this map, or very interesting, is Sage. With her wall, you can block off some very peculiar angles. So like B-site, we're about to see that little jump up that you do. You could wall that off completely, and then they have to shoot through like multiple pieces of her wall just to get across to the site.
I was also going to ask about Sage. Are there any jumps that you can make using her wall?
Like, can you extend it out and basically use it as
But I know like her wall like breaks over certain ledges and things like that, but is there a way to like get past that?
Honestly, I don't want to spoil it though, honestly. I actually am really interested to see like what our players come up with. Like, we test these maps for like thousands of hours, but I am really interested to see like how players are going to exploit sort of like this new kind of paradigm in our map.
I don't even know what's going on. I'm just so enthralled with the map. Like, I don't know who's winning.
it's been a bit back and forth. They're battling out. Now, of course, with the ability to just drop off the side of the map, because obviously we've seen pro players grab a gun, throw it off the ledge on ascent, throw it off the side of fracture, whatever. That's a strategic move to deny weapons over to your opponents, make sure they're not going to be recoverable as you're rotating to the opposite side of the map. But one of the other things that we have in Valorant as a strategy is, maybe losing the pistol round, having just classics. You lose 2 players and then you just sit back and you wait for the spike to detonate. Does it all play out exactly the same if you just go into one of the drops?
That's a good question. I think for ecos, we actually do see a lot of mid fights. If you 5-man hit it, typically you'll only have 1 defender there to keep it safe, and you get a lot of map control by doing that. So you're getting right into their spawns, into their areas that they're sitting in and catching them off guard. We're seeing a lot of snipers in general. So
there's a lot of opportunities to take an eco and kind of turn it around on your opponent. There's a lot of angles and things like that to utilize.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's also.
I think team play is really, really required for this because of all the long range fights.
Yeah, and I know it's really exciting. This is the first map that's gonna have no boundaries. It has death drops, weapons gonna fall off. Sage can't res bodies that fall off the pit. But it's really important to make sure players know that the core design of the map is still very traditional. It's 3 lanes. It's got 2 sites. It's got that mid. A lot of the fundamentals that players practice day in and day out still super important in this map. But again, we had that extra layer. Really excited to see how players are going to surprise us with some of their clutch plays.
Now, we said that the spike, if it falls off the side of the map, that just comes right back up. I'm assuming that since we do have Geckos in play, I haven't noticed if it's happened yet. If you were to accidentally send Dizzy off over the side of the map, is he just falling into the abyss?
No, he's gonna.
Gone.
Yeah.
It's gone.
It's gone
okay.
forever.
So, Gecko players, got to be a little bit more careful with your lineups. Going to have to study quite a bit and make sure that you don't accidentally send something out in a panic, I suppose, because that is just you losing a major piece of utility.
And that's what we mean when we mention we want our players to think a little harder about how they're using these abilities. We're adding this extra dimension of gameplay, this extra consideration they have to make with every execute, every play. Here he goes!
Yes!
We did it!
We got it! We got the shot!
We got it!
Slicky in shambles! What a wingman driving!
And honestly, this plant backside is pretty strong when you play in B main, forcing your opponents to jump across the skill jump here. It's a very easy way to catch them off guard.
Wow. Well, next one not getting caught by the Thrash, but does get a nice headshot there from Dun King, so see if they're going to be able to get this 2v2 for the retake.
Oh, they got the wingman.
Yeah, he's on. Oh, cleared off.
Oh.
Bold swing. Seems like International going to be getting themselves
Like
7.
I mentioned, this B main hold is extremely powerful.
All right.
Incredible. So we're talking a lot about things that can happen when you drop off, but there's a lot of ways to avoid it. We saw the Omen TP earlier. What are some other mechanics that players could potentially kind of use by faking going off the map or trying to? Somebody fell.
He forgot to jump. That happens.
Yeah. We've all been there. But what are some other mechanics like Phoenix? With maybe the run it back or Yoru. Obviously.
Yeah, we kind of sort of touched on that too. Phoenix is actually one of the most viable reses on the map. He can do the run it back. Again, Yoru plays are also super popular in some of our internal playtests. You can totally fake out players with some of those teleport opportunities. And I want to emphasize too is it's not just about the falling in a pit to die.
Skill jumps. Sorry to interrupt you, Al, but
sure.
we finally have someone playing in this powerful position, catching the rotates. This spot is a really good place to catch people off guard if you hit your shots, unfortunately.
Well, they were able to exit. They were able to jump out this time, so not falling into the abyss. And again, a spike plant. Curious to see how this goes, because last round of the half, they have to just try to play this out, but it's not looking good here for Team China. Like International going to be able to get themselves at 8-4.
Shadows traveling.
Yeah, Omen is such a great agent to play on this map. He's got so much great opportunity.
Yeah, it seems like he is very much not going, very much just staying. He is not going anywhere, it would seem. But I'm curious to see how it's going to combine in with other controllers, as you were talking about, since Viper in the mix. Do people want to play Astra Brimstone?
Yeah.
You said one smoke that can't lock off an entry to the site, but 2 smokes can.
Yeah, and and we're just talking about the agents that are available now. Like one really exciting thing, like we talked about, like we're getting even more collaborative, like people across the team, agents teams, our skins team. When you think about like maps like this, like what are the opportunities for agents in the future? I'm actually really excited about what can happen, in future lineups.
My anticipation, personally, I'm seeing the Viper and then a Dome Smoke potentially. Just because that B main not being able to Dome Smoke it is pretty rough.
Very true. Oh no! He's gone, done it again.
We're forgetting to jump again.
Again, high risk,
High
reward.
risk, high reward, or
I don't think there should have been that much risk in that one, to be honest.
that was by choice for sure. And like Al said, like we have all these ankle borders, everything's intentional. We don't want this to feel frustrating at all. This is just adding an extra dimension of gameplay because our players keep raising that bar.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that could be frustration at the map, just frustration at your not pressing the space bar. But
yeah, that's user error right there.
able to trade one back is okay, we got him again.
Oh, I love the way that.
Yeah, so using the Dizzy to cross there is really smart because typically a defender will be holding you on that jump.
They're able to clear it out though, so now that this is starting to get away from them.
Last player standing.
It's all on Mixwell. I call it with you, Till. But yeah, I'm loving the approaches that we're seeing. It's so neat to see because it's just so unlike anything that we've had in the game thus far. But like you said, it's still like it doesn't feel that different, but it is still very different.
Yeah, so the layout is very traditional. It really aligns with our core maps. It should be very straightforward to learn, very straightforward to play, except we're just adding this extra thing you have to think about.
Yeah, and I was going to say too, like seeing the reaction of like our players. I saw some stuff in socials today. Luke's going to be deceiving too. Like this beautiful map that's in this deep chasm, it kind of gives us this idea that it's a huge map. It is not overly big. Every new map takes time to learn, but we're really hoping that players will pick up the layout on this. And as you can see too, like action happens immediately. I mean, they're going past that barrier and executing on site, and we get straight to the action, which is intentional.
Now this is the eco round team play I'm talking about. I'm hoping to see if this works out for them.
Curious if this does fall apart. Do they just go to the side?
Excited for this one.
Spotted. I mean, they're just going to wide swing him, so he's got a backpedal. They haven't taken a sight yet.
The blind.
Okay, looks like they're holding it down.
Down mid.
Mixwell not going to be able to jump off the side.
Respectable attempt.
Yeah, not bad. Decent amount of damage dealt.
Got to be careful on that rope in mid. A lot of times in our playtest, you can actually like hang on that rope, and if people aren't paying attention and clearing corners, you can catch them off guard.
Yeah, I had my manager do that to me. He sat on the rope in mid, like in a 1v1, and I just walked past him and he shoots me on the rope. I couldn't even be mad. It was just so cool. And those are those clippable moments that we're talking about, you know?
Right. I have a question. Hopefully you can answer it for me. But you were talking about the increased collaboration that you have between the different teams. Do you ever have somebody on the agent side come to you guys and be like, hey, can you put something like this into a map because we have an idea for an agent on this end, or is that fairly separated?
I will say opportunities to do that are growing. I mean, like we're always really careful, really intentional on how we introduce gameplay mechanics in maps. Agents team does the same thing. But I think it's going to grow more in the future as we do more things. I mean, we've had some really exciting agents come out with kind of new outdoor abilities, and kind of again talking about we've had 3 what we call core maps, which were really straightforward. The hooks weren't really heavy. This is kind of back to that experimentation of seeing if we can add that layer to really excite players. But yeah.
And
see the future.
We're trying to collaborate more, so we have a lot of Easter eggs on the maps, current stuff and future stuff. So keep your eyes peeled. I don't want to say any more than that.
Yeah, I was gonna say we won't press you to point out anything here. I'm sure that people, as soon as they get their hands on this, are gonna be scouring
it'll be quick.
every nook and cranny.
Yeah, wink, wink. They showed it in the cinematic, but we see a lot of shots of defenders holding the top of mid. We actually have for the first time a lot of our
30
premium
seconds
weapon skins in the map showcased. Part of that lore, part of that story, that is probably some of the funnest stuff that we got to collaborate on because it adds so much and kind of unifies that Valorant universe.
Yeah, so the idea is the Scions of Hourglass are keeping these artifacts away from the world. And then our agents, they broke in, so it's not a secret anymore.
Yeah, so it is kind of like a secret underground base, sort
Yeah,
of like
it's
a
like a
Bond villain or something.
Yeah,
you
so
know?
mid is like a library. It's like where they keep all of those secrets, and then B is more of this like botanical radionite research facility. They're like seeing the effects of radionite on different organic elements, and then A site is how would you phrase it?
A side is what we call radionite lockup,
Yeah.
where particular things are kept there and hidden.
Oh, that sounded ominous.
It is,
Yes,
it is
very ominous.
I wonder if we'll find out more about that in a
Yeah.
future event or something.
But
I
again,
played
like,
the 5th.
yeah, and like again, this is a really lore-heavy map. This was actually really fun. When we released Sunset last
Oh
year,
boy.
it was really heavily influenced by like Los Angeles.
Wow.
This one, we got to do a lot of stuff on our own.
I don't think I've ever seen aggression like this into B main.
I mean, you mentioned, talking about Sunset, yeah, that influence is there. I'm curious about the influence for this map. Was there anywhere regionally that came to mind when you were designing this?
Yeah, actually, this was like a really big challenge, right? Like, we had to intentionally make a map that it was very clear, like, what is the gameplay and, like, where are the areas that you can't get to. And a lot of, like, the geographical sort of inspiration we got was from, like, a really remote island just north of Iceland. And it had a lot of the geographical features that we wanted to showcase in the map. And it also matches up with the lore. Like, this is supposed to be a secret base for this secret faction of the Sign of Ironclad.
Right.
So it is in a really remote location. But again, what was really excited is that this whole base, the architecture is new stuff. It is new lore. It is very narrative driven.
I'm actually kind of want to go on a different path a little bit here. I'm Al. This is a kind of question for you. I'm super curious about like, how do you guys think about the layout?
Here it is. Here it is.
Oh, are we gonna? Oh, they're hiding. They're
okay.
hiding. Okay, hold on.
He's rope lurking with a Bucky.
The risk is with a Bucky is an interesting choice.
This is just laughing.
They're miles away.
Oh, they're just like walking into B side.
He's gonna have to just try to
I
retake
respect the
with it.
gamble. I respect the gamble.
Gotta try.
Yeah, you said risk and reward,
He's
but
sitting there.
not being rewarded for it. Shut down on the ult.
Man. But okay, so when you think about you gotta build a new map. How do you start with like the layout? How do you think about like some of the things you're looking to put into the map in terms of like in this case we have like a really long mid, some of the vent those kind of things. Like how do those form in your head and how do they come to fruition?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. Actually, a lot of times folks will ask us, like, does like the narrative, the story of the episode, or like things we want to do in the Val universe really affect like the layout of the map? And actually, I'll be honest, the answer is no. It really starts with the gameplay, right? Like, it has to feel really good in that prototype phase where it's just gray blocks, right? We call it gray box. And like when we talk about opportunities, things we're deciding, honestly, it is just the evolution of like what our players are doing in the game today. What are opportunities? What's feedback we're getting from players? And also just like what are just fresh new ideas that like our design team, and the team, the broader team as a whole want to do, and then we just try to find the right combination of that. And again, test very heavily.
Sure.
I will share with this map. I mean, this map at one point had like even more extreme verticality. It had things like jump pads and crash pads, so you can go like very long distances.
Oh, okay.
And we even had like harder trick jumps. We had platforms that were like half a meter,
Tiny.
Yeah.
very tiny. But again, lots of play testing, lots of making sure that it still hits those key beats for like the design principles for map. And again, super excited to see how players react.
And to clarify, the crash pads would actually help you not take any fall damage. So we had like these jump pads, you could go super, super high, then if you fell down, you'd take no damage at all. But in the end, we wanted this to align a bit more with our core maps instead, and then and then hopefully not be too punishing. Yes.
One of the things that I like that we have seen more times than I expected
Yes,
is,
way more.
is kind of just like, where you hit the, where you actually hit the depth when you're falling off the side of the map, what that limit is. So it seems like you have a decent amount of time to try to react. Like if you're playing Jet, something like that, you actually slip off the side of the map to be able to get that updraft off. It's not like you just are instantly dead.
It's about 3 to 4 seconds, right? We don't want to make it. We don't want to belabor the point. Like once you fall off, if you don't have any movement utility, you'll die within 3 to 4 seconds.
Right.
A 1v1 here.
They didn't take damage from their own shock dart at least, but
Mercy
now
of time.
it's 2 rounds away here for Team International.
This went by pretty quickly.
It's been, yeah, fairly back and forth, but it feels like this defender side, they're finding their groove a little bit more, but this
It's
nice
those early
wraparound.
fights, that early aggression, the risks that they're taking makes for a very riveting map.
And then
Showing
disaster. Yeah, I can't wait to see that, the first week or the first couple days, especially of this map coming out, all the clips that are going to be compiled and posted online of the streamers losing their minds.
And if people are wondering if you can plan on the edge of B site and you've got a breach on the post plan, you can totally have multiple agents go off the edge.
Everyone off the map.
It seems like maybe everyone will just firm handshakes agree not to play breach on this. No, or just, if you know the Rolling Thunder's online, don't go to B. Maybe makes them a little bit more readable, but good fight back.
There we go. Let's go.
Yeah, well, you can see how, that round really shows how important that mid control is, right?
It is.
That Neon gets so far up there.
Looks like this is being watched for, though. Updraft peak.
Info.
Almost finding it.
Man.
Really solid. I'm curious, for Sabrina, what is the process like for you when they kind of give you, like the gray box? When they say, like, this is the map that we have. What is like the first couple steps of figuring out like what the look of this map is going to be?
Yeah, I mean, as a 3D artist, I come in a little bit later, but we do have fantastic concept artists. We started out super early during a blue sky phase, which means the sky's the limit. They can do whatever they want, try the most insane, crazy things, and we do not want to limit them on their creativity. Then we hone it in a little bit, try and figure out, okay, what does this look like? They actually take the map into consideration, trying to fit all their ideas into there. And then
the rope
we
lurk.
come in. Yep.
It might pay off. Oh, there's help, but there's but now he's got to get out. Might need some assistance to get out of this position.
He's got the teammate holding him there. I can see the panic in the movement.
This is incredible.
I mean, this is exactly what we wanted to see out of this show match.
Right. It could maybe just, blast pack, jump off backwards.
Got his ult as well.
Get out of it a couple different ways.
He was smoke here by Maxwell.
Again, it's really hard to sneak by in mid. You've got to commit.
And that smoke covers all the way into the vent too, so that's really nice to bail your team out.
Yeah.
I mentioned that dome smoke is not too strong on B side, but mid gives you incredible power. Limiting that information, getting the early info on mid is so important. So sending that dart into back of mid or fade eye can make all the difference for your team.
Have there been any harbor enjoyers trying out some things with the high tide and stuff like that on this map, trying to?
Actually, our game analysis team enjoyed using harbor a lot because his wave actually covers that B main choke, which the smoke does not cover.
Got down. China trying to fight this one back.
And fun fact, that bridge right there is pennable, so you're able to shoot right into heaven.
Okay, yeah. Here's a big question that I have a concern about.
All right.
Not really, but
I know where this is going.
how valuable do you think the Odin's going to be on this map compared to something like Lotus, Ascent?
Hopefully it's nothing like Lotus, only because I feel like Lotus has a lot of those close quarters fights, people are right behind that wall that you're spamming. Here we're getting those really long range fights, so we're anticipating more Operator, maybe the Guardian even. Yeah.
Building up in popularity. Okay, that's curious.
But can't say for sure until the players get their hands on it.
Again, we keep saying
us.
I cannot wait for players to get the map and see how to surprise us. I was here 2 days ago, and Lotus plus Odin, that was pretty serious.
That was rough to watch for sure.
Well, long range meta, I quite like that. So
I'm a big fan personally. Breeze used to be my favorite map. I was like a Reyna main. So it was all about those aim duels, so mid is a haven for me.
You told me you were a Chamber main. Was Reyna the first love, and then Chamber was the other one?
As they nerf my agents, I move on. You know what I mean? Then I became an Astra main, and then they took my star away.
I'm loving this, though. I'm a Neon main, so I love the Neon action on the show match.
Well, speaking of the Neon, it's like China, they're going to bring this back, just maybe one round separating.
This angle is so powerful.
It's not quite connecting the spray. Vandal moment.
Thanks, Wings.
And then most of the boxes on both bomb sites are pennable. So that should bring some interesting gameplay.
Are there any other walls to look out, maybe around mid or anything like that that might be pennable that players should consider?
Not that we know of.
Not that you know of.
Usually our players discover those ones.
Yeah.
I will
We
say,
try our best.
yeah, if there's time after the match, I would love to show you some really cool one-ways that our lead designer,
Yes,
Jerry
please.
Seamer, showed us.
Yes. I'd love that.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, if you want a little pro tip, that jump up that you do, if you actually smoke that off, that really affects the attackers. Like jumping across without seeing where you're going, absolutely
sure.
terrifying. So smoking that for post plan is a really good way to counter that like uncomfortable situation.
Yeah, that seems like something, especially like really early on, or just very much like in ranked, to take advantage of in the early days. Because we expect like the pros, you're going to be able to get down this like really good, just like methodical rhythm, knowing where you're going. Look at some players who could probably navigate a map blindfolded because they've just played it so many times. But in ranked, very different story. So that's a really good tip, I think.
What about for Clove? If they go off the map, can you still use their smokes?
You cannot.
Oh, you can use
Not.
the smoke.
Oh, you can just. Oh.
You can use the smokes, but the ult does not work.
No,
correct?
not deal.
I was gonna say this map would just be a major nerf to them if that were the case.
Yeah, and same thing for Sage too. Like you can res a body that's out of the gameplay space.
Right.
Oh, I think we just saw Dizzy fall down into the
This
pit.
is a really good little camp corner. Rarely cleared. The box is actually, that box as well is pennable, so you could clear that by penning through it as you're executing, which I highly recommend.
Well, they don't get overly punished by it. This looks like this is going to be going to the distance here.
Yeah, against the Eco.
11-11.
Hard.
Satchel out.
Wide angle.
Oh boy. Yeah, the jiggle peeking here on the corner is not
People
working out super
building
great.
the outlaw on this map as well.
Yeah, I mean, seems like you're talking about long range, you're talking about sniping, and if you can really get that snowball and force your opponents onto ecos, onto half armors, it feels like the outlaw very much could thrive. But one of the other things that I'm curious to see is going to be, how quickly can you get on top of the outlaw to try to punish it? Because it is just that two-shot weapon, and if they're going to be posted up in mid, there's a lot of routing options.
That's true. And honestly, with the long-range areas that you do typically fight with those weapons are easily dome smoked. So it's not going to be like the op is overpowered or anything like that. There is a good counter.
All right, let's see this hit.
Double stack. They're taking their time, but spotted. Obviously, some of the boxes you're talking about is noted, but now way is cleared. Another run it back to try to open up the site even more. It's flashed up. This is looking like this is going to end up going Team China's way. 5 players alive.
They trade so well.
Spike planted.
The comms, home team advantage.
Yeah, right?
Fair point. See if they can do anything to try to run this back. But money-wise, not looking great here for International. And so often we see the lurkers in those positions, get anticipated and not be able to hold their ground, but
Match point.
Red King able to make it happen. So now match point. See
Yeah,
if we get any other new little unique features here in this potentially last round.
Yeah, even though you're able to lurk a little bit on this map, like you distract everyone on site, you have that one guy going mid. Defenders still have multiple positions like this where they can hold you and kind of be prepared for that.
One thing I want to ask about, since we don't have any of these agents in here, are like the traditional sentinels, like
Yes.
Cypher, like Killjoy. How have they played on this map? How have people found them?
So far, I think there's been a bit of a bias towards Cypher, only because, you have global utility. Placing those trips helps you really keep track of those lurkers, which can be incredibly punishing. Killjoy is pretty fun as well, but from what I've heard, Deadlock is incredibly strong on this one, actually.
Really?
Oh.
Yes,
Yeah,
that
super
wall can
strong.
hold down a lot of space.
But yeah, plus one to Cypher though too, especially if you're worried about Neon on the
Yeah.
other team. Like having those trips in key locations can, no pun intended, really trip her up.
Oh, yeah, of course. If it's near a jump and you're trying to get over there. Yeah.
Yeah,
And like I mentioned, getting that early information in mid, we've actually been seeing a lot of people dropping that Cypher cam. to try and see what's going on in there.
Makes sense.
Are there Cypher?
Real close here.
Off to ask it another time, but Team China in front of the home crowd, able to pick up the victory here over Team International. But what an incredibly fascinating map. I think we got to see a decent little bit of some of these things that you guys were talking to us about. But I think that there's also still way more to be explored here.
Absolutely. I mean, this went beyond our expectations, honestly.
Yeah, I am like super excited that players will finally get to play this map in the next couple days. I remember seeing the prototype of this map, and it was wild. Like early iterations trying so many new exciting things. You know, we've really tuned it up, made it look beautiful, and let's see what players think when it comes out.
Yeah, it really feels like it's going to test the players' skill sets in a lot of different ways that really haven't been before. So that's like super exciting for me to get to see players and how they're able to adapt and create.
Looking forward to the deep dives. You know, your average Jonas's out there in the world like to go in and just start experimenting with things like lineups, come up with some crazy stuff all the way across the map.
Our wonderful teams.
Yeah, I saw that Omen play though early in the match. That was like perfection.
That was so cool.
I'm glad that you guys are hopping on top of those moments, letting us know, because like we said, we'd never seen this before. We didn't know what to expect. So thank you guys for holding our hands through this matchup.
Oh my goodness,
and
it's our
pointing out
pleasure.
all the great moments. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you guys on the desk to be able to pick your brains this whole way. But now that they've seen the cinematic, they've seen the map, I'll ask you once more, starting with you, Sabrina, how do you feel? It's out there, your baby's out there in the world.
I am elated. I'm so excited and happy. I mean, like I said, this match was way better than I could have ever imagined. We saw so many different plays. We saw all of the skill jumps. We saw people fall. We saw Wingman plant. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better matchup, so I'm really happy about this and excited for the players to get to experience this as well.
Yeah, +1 to that too. Again, it's a super innovative, super new, fresh type of map. And honestly, it's perfect timing too. Like, this is part of the initial pool on console. So like all of the new players for Valorant and all of our existing players will get to take a crack at it in the next few days.
It's incredible. I mean, you guys have done a great job with it. It looks amazing. The game was fun as heck to watch, so I can't wait to see more of this. I can't wait for the pros to get their hands on this. That's going to be
interesting.
Really interesting to see what they devise.
Excited to see those PureX comms, see what they cook up.
Yes, yes.
I feel like this kind of map is perfect for them.
I agree.
I was trying not to go too heavy into some of the teams that have,
Apologies.
didn't make
just
it,
be biased.
got eliminated. But yeah, PaperX, DRX, I've been so excited to see how those teams are going to be playing on this, because it does look like the execution is going to be fantastic. Let's go ahead and send it down to the stage for our Verizon post-match interview.
That was our Abyss show match, and we are now on stage with our two IGLs. We have Danking and we have Mixwell. And of course, we have Luna here to help with some translation as well. Danking, can we ask you, what are your first impressions of Abyss?
我们首先肯定想先请问一下 Danking， 你对于这张地图的初印象、第一印象是什么呢？
这张图让我想起了我曾经吧，因为它可以跳下去。
It kind of make me remind the the me in the past, because you can jump and you could be fell down.
And Mixwell, what about you? What do you think fans will enjoy the most about this map?
那想问一下 Mixwell， 觉得大家会对于这张地图最喜欢、最享受的一部分是什么呢？
I think people will have a lot of fun because you will see your friends dying, jumping off the cliff, so you will laugh all the time, and people will have to practice movement.
我觉得非常有趣的一点的是，你可能会看着你的队友掉下去，这种非常有趣的场景。我觉得大家可能绝对要为了这一个新的这样的一种创新来练一下自己的操作了。
So I want to get both of your opinions on what agents you think will be the best for this map. We'll start with you, Danking.
觉得最适配这张地图的英雄是谁呢？
我觉得杰特吧，因为我玩杰特玩比较多嘛，然后我感觉杰特这英雄在所有地图里面都是百搭的。
I think it will be Jet, because kind of like it's suitable for every map.
What about you, Maxwell?
I think Jet as well. I think Omen is really good because you can one-way a lot of places and you can do the jump TP like I did in the game. And I also think that you need maybe Harbor or Viper because the bomb sites are really wide and one smoke doesn't cover everything, so you might have to use one of those.
首先，我觉得可能会是杰锋。那其次，我觉得幽门它的 TP 也非常的适用。然后我觉得可能海神和蝰蛇他们的烟也可以达到非常好的效果。
And finally, we have our grand finals coming up. So I just want to know which team you think is taking home that trophy. Is it going to be Genji or Team Heretics? Danking, we'll start with you.
那对于我们的总决赛，你觉得 GNG 和 TH 谁将获得我们的冠军呢
？TH。
TH, the Team Heretics. And Mixwell?
Of course, Team Heretics. Let's go, Wood. Let's go.
Team Heretics, Chongma Wood. Mixwell, Danking, thank you so much for your time. Seriously, that was our Abyss show match. And we are off to a quick break, but when we come back, it's going to be the grand finals of Master Shanghai, Genji versus Team Heretics. You don't want to miss this.
Thank you.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Suddenly, I've been sitting back wondering why you've been coming around cutting me. And now my blood bleeds quicker than my heart beats.
welcome back to the grand finals of Masters Shanghai. I am your host, Yingsu, and joining me on the desk today is Mimi, Kakuka, and a very special guest. Please give a warm welcome to Josh RT, the head coach of G2. How are you doing, Josh?
I'm great, despite the loss yesterday, but I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you here as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's going to be a very, very exciting match if we think about the history of these two teams that we have today.
Yeah, we also just saw an incredible new map there. The energy in here is excellent. Josh, we were talking ahead of time about it. This crowd is just ridiculous. It must have been very special to walk out in front of them.
Oh, it was electric. I'm so grateful that I got to walk on stage at least twice, experience this massive crowd. But yeah, I can't wait to be back in an arena like this again.
Yeah, and speaking of the new map as well, what did you guys think? And how do you feel about potential, agent picks on this new map?
Well, definitely Omen. Omen's ability to traverse like those new routes. The defense is gonna have a problem, I think. Like with those new routes they have on the side, you can just pinch backside. So probably you need a Sova, you probably need a Sentinel somewhere. I don't know.
I think that this might be the return of Chamber. We were talking about it, and especially with the angles, like you need to check exactly the TP and everything and how everything is going to be changing. But also with the changes that we've seen to some of the agents and how strong Gecko is in this meta, I'd say those are two of the potentials.
Yeah, it also almost reminds me a little bit of Fracture, where like the barriers are super close to each other. So I think you're going to see a lot of like really early fighting. Defenders are, I feel like, going to have to be a little bit more proactive, especially in mid. So it should be a really explosive map, and I'm so excited to see what our teams cook up.
Yeah, we were
to see the bloopers.
Yeah, we're not going to see that map for a few more weeks, I think, in the map pool. But let's talk about what we are going to see today. Of course, a grand final between Gen.G and Team Heretics, and they've been having a lot of fun. I've seen them stream together. They tweet at each other all the time, and I know, Josh, are you guys close to them in terms of the location of your prac rooms or anything?
Yeah.
Near them?
Yeah, I mean, interesting tidbit. We're all next to each other at the prac room. It's Heretics, Gen.G, and then us. So we're always hearing Texture stream at night. It's kind of funny. Yeah. So not surprised there's like a chemistry there. Just being close to each other for about a month.
Yeah, I mean, both these teams have been like streaming on their own. You hear them yelling back and forth between the rooms. There's a relationship there, but also a very clear one within both these squads. I think we've seen kind of this history repeated of the best squads that can go on runs are the ones with really good synergy, that are just legitimately friends out of game and have players who can bring up the vibe. And I think that's going to be so important in a long best of 5 like this.
It's only going to make today's matchup more important for them. I think that they're going to enjoy it a lot, and especially what we've seen throughout the tournament, that is going to be the most important part.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what we're going to see on stage. But let's start talking about Team Heretics here. We've seen them here in the Mercedes-Benz Arena at their 5-0. They've had a hell of a journey, Kakuka, to even make it here.
At some point, you got to start believing. You got to start believing that they can complete this run, that they can be the victors for today, especially with the year that they've had, not managing to win in kickoff, not also managing to close things out on stage 1 in that very long best of 5. But yesterday, 3-0 now internationally on this stage. The way that Wood is performing, it gives us a lot of hope for what they can achieve today.
And the history for this squad is incredible, right? From being that team that showed up to Madrid, went out early, to then losing a reverse sweep in the finals regionally, to now with a sub finding this performance. This team is so incredibly unique thus far. They have played the most Valorant of anyone else in the tournament thus far. And Josh, what's impressed me so much is how much they've grown through the event, how many new ideas they've brought out with these really short turnaround times.
Yeah, I mean, they had an interesting challenge to bring in Patatek, and they had a limited map pool in the beginning, but as the tournament developed, they start changing comps, made certain weak maps their strong maps, and it's going to be really challenging for Gen.G, who historically has a 7 map pool. Even though they have the ban advantage, like, I think the advantages are nullified a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you agree, Kakuka, hearing this?
I think that it's going to be definitely stressful for Gen.G. So far, they've had this flawless round, but now Heretics is coming up so much stronger. As you're saying, every single time that they find another challenge in their run, they find a solution for the next time, and it's very surprising to see that they can do it in such a short period of time.
But this is the thing, that they're going up against Gen.G here. At least for me, I feel like one of the, if not the most consistent team we've had in the world right now, back-to-back finals. Josh, why do you think they've been able to keep up this consistency in a year where it feels like no one else is being able to do what they are doing right now?
I think they have a really simple but very highly optimized approach where they can get their fights that they want. And in a tournament setting like this, if you can't beat them, you can't match them individually, like they will make deep runs.
Yeah, and beyond that, right? Like, they have a lot of stuff that is kind of like simple on meta stuff, but they've also been a team that a lot of people I think have picked up ideas from. Their comp on Icebox, they were on the first teams playing the KO Gecko, their ideas on Breeze as well. Even if it can like look a little more like one-dimensional at times and they adapt a little less, the execution is at just such a high level that they are beating teams consistently. They're the only squad that is still undefeated here in Shanghai.
Exactly, but that is something that we also saw in Madrid. They have been in this position before. Yes, this year is looking great for Gen G, but they need to secure that trophy. They weren't able to do it back in Madrid, but today they have a very, very good chance.
Yeah, they absolutely do. But there is a bit of a curse, right? It's been second place consistently at home in Madrid, and a Pacific squad.
Of the year they got the first.
Sure, but still, no team from Pacific, no Asian team has ever lifted an international trophy. If they lose today, they have the unfortunate reality of being the only team to ever be in 2 finals and lose them both. This seems like Gen G's time and really their chance to finally win that trophy for themselves and for their region.
Yeah, speaking of Gen G, earlier, Mika Fabs caught up with Munchkin for a quick chat.
Hey guys, I've got Munchkin here of Gen G. Munchkin, this roster was built from scratch at the top of 2024. You guys, made it over second at Masters Madrid, all the way through Pacific, and now you are here at the grand finals of Masters Shanghai. Let us know, how different is the Gen G from all the way from kickoff to right now here at Masters Shanghai?
Back then we were boys. Now we are men. And probably.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, the boys to men buff. Josh, is that a real thing? Is that something that we should be keeping an eye out for?
Honestly, when you go through grueling series and like a loss like that, you do grow a little bit. I feel like as a team, they probably matured on like how to handle those losses, and they probably took valuable lessons away from the Sentinels game.
They're men now, guys. They're
Yeah,
men.
they're men.
They're adults.
Men.
They're ready to go. It is funny though, because both these teams are so young, right? There's a lot of players that are having their like debut year. A player you're looking at on your screen here, Karan. Like all of these guys are so fresh to the scene, but I think have grown up and evolved so quickly.
But this is the thing, we mentioned it already. There does seem to be a little bit of a curse with Pacific teams. Paper X, they couldn't do it. DRX, they didn't even really come as close as Gen G and Paper X. It just feels like all the other regions, they're picking up trophies left, right, and center. And Kukuka, we still haven't seen one for the Pacific region.
And it's so crazy, right? Because if we go back to the early days of Valorant, to those first tournaments, it was all about Vision Strikers, DRX, Paper X that have stolen our hearts so many times. But actually, coming as close as Gen G, not many have been. And it will be, I think, a very good reward for the year that they're having to be able to lift it and bring it home this time around.
Josh is a guy who's played against now all of the Pacific teams in this tournament. Do you think there's a reason that trophy hasn't been lifted? Do you think there's a difference in the style of Pacific that has maybe eluded them in these deep tournament runs?
I feel like what they kind of lack is like the multi-dimensionality of their game plans. But they're very, very optimized on like how they want to take their fights. So as long as Neil, the head coach of Heretics, could develop a really good game plan for Boo to call, I feel like they can solve Gen G.
Let me throw another question here at you, because there is a curse on the side of Pacific, but for EMEA, it feels like every time EMEA have reached the final, unless they're going up against Sentinels or another EMEA team, they've been pretty successful when it comes to lifting a trophy. Why do you think that is for that region? Because I really like the answer you just gave for why Pacific are still hunting for that trophy.
I think it comes down to the game plans and like expectations of like how you want to approach the game. And like I feel like Heretics is a team that can switch and adapt on the fly quickly, and that's enough to like at least secure a few rounds here. So to me, the question is that can Heretics absorb the punch that they'll get from Gen G?
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting, right? Because when we talk about that growth, I feel like Gen G has had too much time to study every single kind of solution that Heretics have been bringing, but they still keep bringing surprises. Yesterday even, they changed the composition on Lotus, and you can only think, like, when is this going to end?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about absorbing punches. I feel like the biggest punch that Heretics will be throwing out is in the shape of a Turkish duelist. His name is V, and at this point, Mimi, if they manage to bring home this trophy, surely he will be the tournament MVP.
I mean, he is absolutely in that conversation. He has been absolutely ridiculous thus far. For those that weren't familiar with his full run, he wasn't a duelist player for his team coming into this event. They have to pick up a sub. Their duelist can't play at the event. He steps up to that plate and has been putting on performances like this. He has over 100 first kills in the tournament, which isn't adjusted for matches, sure, but that's already more than any other duelist player has gotten at a global event. He is so aggressive, his team sets him up so well, and his mechanics are absolutely sublime.
We knew this, you know, back in EMEA, Wood was one of the names that everybody was mentioning. Everybody was very excited. He only started playing with Heretics halfway through that first stage. So seeing him now in the international doing every single thing, and he's also one of the main parts that they have adapted, because moving into this tournament, knowing that Minibu as a duelist is so flexible with the Neon, with the Euro, but on the side of Wood, he's been more comfortable on the Jet, the Race, more like simple style, and everything has come to fruition with all the plans that they've changed. And we can see it here on the rankings. He's first on almost every single thing.
I'm so sorry to bring this back to you, Josh. Like, I'm sorry. I know you had suffered enough yesterday, but now you faced against Wood, what, 3 times now? How good is he?
Oh, he's phenomenal. I mean, like, the way he catches, like, these multi-kill rounds and he just opens up the site for them so well. But I can't understate, like, how important their support line is. Reigns and Patatek. Yep. My personal MVP for this tournament for Heretics is Patatek.
Oh, I like it.
I feel like without, like, his support and, like, the ability to clutch out those rounds, and he secured so many clutches against us, they wouldn't have had this, like, run.
Yeah, he's getting the opening kill in over a quarter of rounds, and that's absolutely not possible if you don't have as good of supportive players as this team does. I think the synergy between their two initiators, how they're using their utility in conjunction, and especially once they get that second cooldown, how much value they're getting out of that second stage of util, setting up really good plans every time. It honestly makes his life easy for a guy who's already so damn good.
Yeah, on the other side of this, though, if Gen G were to bring this home, then Kukuka, for me, it has to be Texture MVP.
I mean, I'm not surprised that you say that. I think that Texture beginning of the tournament and Texture during playoffs to me has been 2 different stages. Yes, he does have a lot of his team just supporting him and setting him up, but the way that him individually has felt within the server to me has been much better. This flick, by the way, he's done it at least 2 or 3 times. It's just very disgusting to see time and time again how he can make this place happen consistently. So of course, when we talk about being comfortable, having that experience, having the server time to playing as a duelist and being in the same role, Texture has to be #1.
I mean, you threw Patatek's name out there for Heretics. Do you feel like Texture will be the guy for you for Gen G?
Yeah, I think so. I think his op is so scary to play against. We got punished by it multiple times. That flick shot he had against us on, there it is.
Oh no.
That was crazy.
This is just
that was
torture.
crazy. Yeah.
But if you had to take your pick, you know, somebody you feel like would make more of an impact, would it be Texture or would it be Wood?
I think Texture for Gen G. Texture for Gen G.
I almost lean Woot just because this is his first tournament playing the role and because he's kind of stepped into it so last second. But both these guys are absolutely pivotal, And I think for Texture as well, his like individual impact is almost more important for me because I think a lot of Gen G's game plans are really reliant on like kind of like a simple like flash dash setup like that. And if he's not getting those opening kills, he's not finding those opportunities. I think this team's like mid-rounding is a little bit worse off than a squad like Heretics.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the point. If you see a good round from Gen G, you're going to be looking at Texture. From the side of Heretics, anybody can step up.
Well, I'm glad you guys mentioned Vote because he's standing by with Mika Fabs.
I've got Woot here from Team Heretics. Woot, you have been the talk of the town lately. Can you take us back to when you first found out you were going over to Master Shanghai? What was the pressure like and what does it feel like knowing that you delivered?
We came here for fun, but now we are going to grand final. Like, it's amazing feelings. I can't describe it. Like, you need to live for like understand that. So I'm very excited to play. We will see.
I can feel the excitement from you. Good luck.
Thank you.
I mean, he's excited to play, but the crowd is very excited to see him as well. As we've spoken about in the past, a lot of the fan favorites were knocked out before they even got to this arena. And at this point, honestly, Heretics, they might even be the new fan favorite.
Oh yeah, and I think that everybody can understand why. Time after time, any of these players are a freaking highlight reel, and in so many rounds, things just look ridiculous.
The way the crowd has gotten behind them is wild to see. They beat every one of the CN teams, knocked all of them out of this tournament, or at least down into the lowers. And
you would think that, you know, that
you
would
think that would
the other
vilify
way.
them. But instead, all the fans here have gotten on board because they're just a team that is so easy to like when you watch these players play on stage, the vibes, Benji getting up and screaming, the energy. It really feels like that momentum is building to try and get a trophy here.
I think it really helps that Benji and Voot have been streaming on Bilibili, and their streams are absolutely hilarious. They were queuing with texture as well. I feel like this is one of the dream finals. I don't see a world where this kind of atmosphere and this kind of story happens again. But speaking of this story, Josh, you wanted to talk about this man, Paditek. Let's do it. I've been waiting a long time to talk about him. We heard it from his interview last night. He even said, I've had to grind for so long to get here because other people didn't want to play with me. Other people didn't want to pick me up. I let some opportunities go in the past, and now he's in a grand final. How poetic is that?
It's crazy. It's crazy. And well deserved, honestly. Like from our second match to the third match, like the level of improvement he had and like how much mastery he showed right away. Even like having a KO molly for our Killjoy on Icebox, those little things all matter. And like the amount of impact frags that turned the tide and delivered a 3-0 result for them, like, man, you're torturing me. You're torturing me.
I'm sorry to make you relive it. I'm sorry.
I mean, time after time, we've been talking about Paditek and the impact that he's had in the team from the beginning of the year. He's never been just a sub. He's part of the team. I think that everybody can agree that Heretics is a 6-man roster. They can just be swapping people in and out. But I would be so pissed and so disappointed if people did not pick him up for next year. Pick him up, honestly, because
pick him up now.
He's proven that he can work in any kind of situation, that he can take teams to grand finals at international events, that he's been playing and knows this game inside and out.
What he's done is also unprecedented. The only team who had to sub someone in and make a run at an international tournament who got even close to this deep was Paper X back in Japan.
CJS.
They were in the lower finals, but now Paditek is in the finals with this Team Heretic squad, and I think has a very real chance to lift a trophy as a player that wasn't even supposed to play.
Yes, so well deserved. But also, I don't know if you guys saw that on your screen. All it took was for Benji to get up from his seat and do a little wave to the crowd, and everybody on that side lost their minds. But why wouldn't you? Benji's been doing so well. He's just a showman, and he's great on the server.
I'm just surprised that he still has a voice. Time after time, we see those videos of him screaming, losing it, and yeah, this is this is literally all that you're going to see on camera. If he's not cheering Wood, he's cheering the rest of the team, but also individually, he just shines and merges so well with the rest.
But Meteor's been fantastic this tournament too. And Josh, I wanted to ask you again about playing against this guy, because it seems like even when he's alone on a site, he is so tough to deal with as a player.
Oh yeah, he destroyed us. I mean, I feel like he has a very unconventional style as a Sentinel player. If you compare it to Benji Fishy, like he plays his setups really well. Meteor is willing to break his setup and go for the unexpected frag and then like fall back. And that sort of playstyle is really pressuring in a stage like this.
He's like the one like Killjoy player that you're gonna see like playing in front of his util, and you're like, okay, he's got a whole plan about it.
Why is there? And then he gets 2. And then like what can you do?
It's one of the reasons also, like maps, for example, like Ascent, you know, when we think about Genji's best maps, or even Breeze, you think of Meteor and the impact that he has. It doesn't matter if it's on the Killjoy and he's doing something like playing in front of his utility, or he's just going with Euro, swapping everything around, and again, just merging so well with the rest.
I'm glad you guys mentioned the Killjoy, because Benji, obviously, they switched their comp against you yesterday. I wanted to ask you, did that throw you off at all, you know, seeing Benji go from the Cypher to the Killjoy? How much preparation did you make for that?
I mean, it's a comp that we faced a lot. It's been the meta for, thanks to Fnatic. So, like, we're familiar, like, how to play against that. So, like, it didn't really throw us off that much. But we did expect, like, a Cypher.
Do you think that's what they should do again today, just to stick with that the new comp that they ran yesterday?
Oh, I think so.
What about you guys?
Yeah, I liked it. I think it looked really well put together. And this is not the first time we've seen them switching things up throughout this tournament. Because of that substitution we've been talking about, they've had to iterate on their comps and change up ideas. But despite that, the game plans look so thoroughly thought through. I think Boo's calling, like his macro calling, on pretty much all of these maps, even when the team is changing, has been so impressive this entire time. And I think that makes them, honestly, a pretty tough team to prep for, because they can vary it up so much.
It's so surprising. But I think that yesterday we saw like the last straw of it. I will be surprised if we see any more of the changes because it really looks like they've reached a point where they feel comfortable, where we see, the changes on Split, maybe deciding to play that Ascent that wasn't a good idea, but honestly, it didn't look that bad.
I'm down for a vote, Neon. Just the full arc.
Yeah.
Give a vote on the Neon. But it's time for the result of our MasterCard fan poll. Earlier, we asked you which team is winning it all, and you guys have voted for Gen G. What do you guys think about this? Controversial, or you expected this?
I mean, they have the double ban. They've been flawless in the tournament so far. I think that people get very, very excited because of how Heretics has made us dream and believe in everything that they're doing on the server. But if you are realistic and you think about Gen G and the way that they've been performing, they do deserve to win this tournament. Also, they get that double ban. So there is a lot of things working in their favor.
I mean, they're like guaranteed to get to play Breeze, Ascent, some of their best maps really early in this series, which I think is huge for them. But for all I believe in Gen G, I do think back to the last final they were in, where they were favored against Sentinels, where they had the double ban, where they were up in the series. And then the last map comes around, a map they should have been favored in, and the bench slips and it falls.
High five, girl!
Bring it in, bring it in. All right, of course, I have not deviated from my Heretics pick this entire tournament. But Josh, you're not on this graphic. Who would you have said?
I gotta go with Heretics.
One of us! Yeah, sorry.
I know it hurts to say because I'm Korean. I'm like rooting for the Korean brothers, but like,
it's so good.
Heretics, after facing them 3 times.
We get it, we get it. You're one of us now. But the wait is finally over. Today, 2 teams will take the stage, but only one can lift the trophy and make history. It's time to bring out your Master Shanghai Grand finalists, Team Heretics and Gen G.
일단 제가 1티어 리그에 올 수 있을지도 사실 잘 생각을 하지 않고 있었고 프로를 하고 싶으시다면 좀 많은 것들을 버려야 돼요.
Gen G's hopes and dreams laid on his shoulders. But how much can one man do?
그러니까 이게 무슨 말이냐면 이제 친구들과 놀고 싶을 때 놀지 않아야 되고 그리고 자기의 어떻게 하면 게임을 늘려갈 수 있을지
They've still made history, but that trophy is not for them.
무언가를 이제 원하는데 그 원하는 거를 이루려고 할 때 그 한 가지 일에만 집중을 해야 되지 이게 다른 일까지 집중을 하게 되면은 저는 사실 프로를 추천드리지는 않습니다.
Trent gets the play, but now he's in a 1v3. The lockdown in play, and the hopes and dreams of G2 have come to an end.
We weren't coming to this tournament thinking we were going to win. The journey we've gone through in Shanghai, it's like a movie.
Mercedes-Benz Arena, show some love to Politics. How does that feel, Politics?
That's amazing. That's the best thing in my life. The last 4 years were really rough for me. I was struggling like mentally. I was thinking that I'm gonna retire. I think I learned a lot from that, and in my opinion, people need to go through bad times to appreciate when the good times are happening.
What a moment for Team Heretics, a 3-0 to make their way to their first global finals.
I always dreamed of people cheering for me. I always take a deep breath, and I appreciate where I am right now.
For Heretics, the journey, the story, it is not yet over.
Finishing touches on this. Gen G pick up right where they left off.
사실 마드리드 때랑은 조금 다른 분위기의 저희였기 때문에
What an exclamation point on an incredible match. 13-10, Gen G!
저희가 마드리드 때
실력이지만 이제 멘탈이 조금 문제라고 생각을 했었거든요. 근데 국제전 이번에 상하이 들어와서 그 부분이 완벽히 해결된 것 같아서.
They are back. Karen finds it. They get themselves into back-to-back grand finals.
사실 제가 이 젠지를 가장 마지막 멤버로 들어왔었거든요. 근데 제가 이 팀 들어오고 처음 연습을 했을 때 느꼈던 건 정말 제가 지금까지 만나봤던 팀원들 중에 가장 잘 쏘는 팀원들인 것 같다라고 느꼈었어요.
But Genji, they've always seemed like a different beast here in 2024.
The consistency has been unbelievable, and they are on the precipice of their first ever championship.
역시 챔피언이라는 소리를 들으면 페이커 선수가 제일 먼저 생각이 나는 것 같아요. 저희 한국 e스포츠계의 전설이자 제 발로란트계의 페이커도 좋지만 발로란트의 라키아로 그런 좋은 사람으로 남고 싶습니다.
We gotta stay awake.
Genji will make it in the long run. Genji, you guys had an easy run for the tournament, but that run ends now.
저희가 이제 상하이의 최종 보스입니다. 재밌게 해보자고요.
欢迎来到无畏契约上海大师赛决赛的现场。Genji TX 历经层层考验和挑战，从瑞士轮一路过关斩将，闯进了总决赛的舞台。今晚战意觉醒，他们将向最终的冠军奖杯发起最后的冲击。接下来，就让我们有请进入到决赛的两支战队登场。
是的，在上一次马德里他们是隐恨在了决赛，他们没有能够拿下那个 BO5，而这一次上海大师赛对于Genji来说又一次要遭遇 BO5，可能 BO3没有队伍能够阻止他们离冠军就差最后的一场比赛。
是的，太平洋赛区火种依旧延续，他们就是Genji。
opportunity to lift a Masters trophy. They let it slip in Madrid, but this time around, all they need to do is to get past Team Heretics, the only team that's ever make a grand final with a sub.
Yeah, exactly. And as we look at the maps, we do not see surprises. Bind is going to go out, especially after the latest adaptations from Team Heretics. And Sunset is somewhere where Gen G just does not want to face them. Breeze is going to be the first one in.
This is a really strong first few maps for Gen G. Their Breeze has looked incredible with their Astra Yoru composition. Their Ascent, they have also been pretty much, undefeated thus far in this tournament. And you also have an Icebox and Lotus where they've shown to be competitive.
Let's talk about this Breeze right off the bat, Josh. I think we all expected it to come up in the first 3 maps. What do you make of this, and who do you think this favors?
I think Gen G has a strong Breeze, but I feel like Heretics will come out with a really strong game plan to play against a no Sentinel Breeze. So look for them to abuse those gaps and see if they can pressure around the map to have those openings.
Yeah, it's very interesting because Gen G has decided to take Heretics to a map where Minibu played the Yoru. They have not played it yet in the tournament, and that adaptation cannot come from one day to another because this is the last day. They have to come in with a new plan, but they knew they were going to be in this exact situation. They knew the Breeze was going to be coming up on today's matchup rather sooner than later. Gen G was prepared. I want to know what Heretics has cooked for this one, though.
And there's a lot of options right now on what to play on Breeze. You can still play the default KO Sova comps that have been around forever. You can play the variations with the solo Yoru, or you can go ahead and steal something like the Gen G comp. There's a lot of options, and I think if they have a strong game plan, especially like you're mentioning, against that no Sentinel, no Cypher comp, there's a lot of potential here for them to get an upset early in the series.
And what people have to remember is, of course, Bur had to move to the duelist. It's not something he's ever played before. He has. And looking at the other players, Paditek was an infamous duelist back on G2. He was great in that role. Reyes can play the duelist as well. In fact, I think they all can except for
It's
Boo.
just a very flexible team. Most of these guys have played a ton of different roles throughout their career.
I don't expect Boo to fill in that role. I think is the only person I wouldn't. But Josh, if this was you, your team, and you knew that you had to play Breeze, would you want to stick to the same comp and just move somebody onto that Yoru, or do something completely different?
I feel like I would just put Woot on Jet.
And just go with a single?
Yeah. I feel like the rest of the playbook could be kind of similar. Of course, you don't have the cross-map TPs, but, the playmaking on Woot just covers that gap.
Woot in the lower finals was absolutely incredible. The amount of first kills, the amount of early engagements he was saying, the pure confidence that the kid plays with is ridiculous. If he can even bring an iota of that into today,
my goodness,
there's a chance because he's locking that Jet.
It's a Sky as well.
I thought that we were going to see another debut coming from Wood just playing on the Yoru. As you're saying, he's sticking to the Jet. Paditek is on the Sky, knowing also how comfortable he is with the KO, how much experience he has with the agent. Are you surprised that he goes with the Sky?
I think the approach is that they want to use these little drones or dogs to try to scout out as much info as possible and try to find a way to crack into Gen G's defense.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to see how they're going to play this Breeze and send it to the first map of this grand final best of 5. Show some love to your casters for today. It is Doug and Baby Bay.
2 teams remain, and there's only room for one. Legends will be born. On this stage behind us, and a sold-out Mercedes-Benz Arena will bear witness a best of 5 Dre to decide who's the best in the world. It does